Hi friends, this is Stacey, and I'm here today to show you this Large Prima Journal that I turned into a great outdoors camping journal. It's a mini book. It's a mini scrapbook. Anyhow, so what I'm showing you here is that I have cut down papers from this Cartabella Great Outdoors collection. I cut down 6 patterned papers. You can see the selection here, the fronts and backs, and also 6 cardstocks from both Basil and Paper Accents. And I've cut them down. This journal says that it is 8 inches by 8 inches. However, it's exactly 8 and 1/8 inches high and 7 and 7/8 inches wide. So the very first thing I did was just go through and pick out the papers from this collection that I really liked and went ahead and put them in here. And you can see I'm wasting my time a little bit here because what I'm trying to do is just match up the pages, the background papers here in order. And what I'm wasting my time with, I think, was that I bothered putting a little bit of that Tombow Mono Dots adhesive to stick them on there just to make sure I got a good feel for them at first before I use the liquid glue, which is how I'm really going to adhere them. And so you'll see that I put them in here and I'm trying to match up, a solid on one side and a pattern on another. And that way, if you flip through the book in one direction, you kind of see some alternating, and you flip through it in the other direction. That's what I'm pointing out right here. But now I'm just going back through and, because yeah, I liked it. I'll glue it on. Now what I'm showing you is I have cut some just white cardstock, just basic white cardstock, into it's to hold a 4x6 picture. Here's my Pioneer Woman cinnamon rolls that I'm showing you the example of because I'm creating this book as a sample for the Creative Escapes scrapbook store in Los Gatos, California. And so I've cut these papers and I prepped them to 4 1/4 by, not 4 1/4, 4 1/8 inches by 6 1/8 inches. And I used both the Tim Holtz Distress ink in walnut stain and also that little chalk ink, and I think it's called Umber, Umber, Umber. So I had 2 different colors. Anyhow, that's how I inked everything. And now I'm going to go through the entire album and I'm going to create some like photo mats for each of these papers. This is what I do when I create an album. First I go through and like I did all the background papers. And now that that's all there, I know I'm not going to run out of space by the end of the book and not have a big enough piece of paper to cover the background. So now I have all these offcuts that I will use to mat all of these papers. And sometimes I use my trimmer, which is kind of what I'm doing here, but then sometimes I use my scissors. And I ink everything. I'm using the walnut stain from Tim Holtz again, and also that little, I thought it was by Tim Holtz, but it's actually by, hold on, because I'm going to open my drawer and look at it right now. It's by Ink Essentials. I don't even know. So you can apply that ink around the edges. It's so much easier to do it that way. Anyhow, now I'm going through and I'm using some of the journaling cards, which are not journaling cards. It was journaling cards. It was a 12x12 paper. And I'm just going through and I'm going to mat everything. So starting on this first page, I have used a mat for this, my little photo. What I'm showing you here is the offcut from the Basil cardstock. It's kind of nice because their paper's a little bit longer than 12 inches on one side to accommodate their little strip there that has the barcode and all of the information on what it's called. And so on this paper, I was able to flip it around and use the untextured side because it made it a little bit wider. You don't know that behind there is that little branding strip. Haha. Now I'm cutting out yet another of there's 12 journaling, like 3x4 journaling cards on this paper. And some homeboy's driving by right now with his like speakers blasting. Sorry if you can't hear that in my background. I certainly could. Anyhow, so I'm just going to mat everything. And now I've totally sped this up because not every single one of the pages you need to see that. I'm just using all my offcuts. I'm matting every paper. One thing that you'll notice that I do is that I'll often take a small offcut, cut it in half, and put part of it on the right, part of it on the left, like I did here on that's called Mango, like kind of orangey cardstock from Basil. Anyhow, sometimes I mat a full piece, and sometimes I will cut it up. On the left, I'm using the Adventure. It's part of the designer stamps also. All of this is from Cartabella, this whole collection. I'm using the designer stamps. I just used it's a Prima chalk ink called Denim, I think, or Blue Jeans. And so it's kind of a tone on tone, creates a different background there. And every page, I'm kind of going with a different theme. You'll notice that I actually started doing some embellishing, although normally I go through the whole book and do the background papers, go through the whole book, and we'll mat everything. And then I'll go through and do embellishing with everything that's left over. And so there you go. There's another example of how I took a small offcut and I cut it and put it on either side to mat, just to create further accent. It gives you the illusion. I'm doing it again here with that plaid paper. It gives you the illusion that the paper behind there is a little bit bigger. And I do it a whole bunch of times. So please use that technique. I'm sure I saw it somewhere and I thought it was a pretty good idea. So that's the way I do it. So I cut these up, use small. I'll do it again with the basket weave paper here. 2 small pieces either side. Ooh, doesn't give you the illusion here that I'm doing something using bigger paper. And I'm just using all the exact same papers as I go through. Little offcuts, adding them here and there. Every page I've got sort of an accent going because I have the fish paper on the right here. Now on the left, I'm going to I think that fish is one of the die cuts from the die cut pack. And the little dude that it says fish fry that I'm putting up in the right corner, that is from the journaling cards paper. All right, friends, in this next section, I have already matted everything. That's what I'm flipping through the book again and showing you. But now I'm going to use this Camp Run-A-Muck paper, and you're going to check out how serendipitous this is. I cut off the title because I knew I wanted to use that. I cut off those camp rules to the left, and the piece that was left over, the flip side, it was this beautiful green mountain scene. Look at how perfectly it fits for the front cover. Ah, it's beautiful. Now, there's not really a piece for the spine just yet, but in the camp rules, I'm adhering to the left, and I'll figure out what I'm going to do on this inside in a little while. Now I'm going to go through the book, and this is kind of tedious and slow, so even though I'm flipping through, don't be alarmed. I'm going to use a few things here that I'm showing you. Up top, first I laid out the die cut pack this is the whole collection from Cartabella Great Outdoors collection. So the die cut pieces, which I've already used a few of. In a previous video, I did a scrapbooking, a 2-page layout. Anyhow, then I'm showing you the stamp set, the stamp pieces that I had already done, including this one that I'm going to use right now, which is Stop and Smell the Flowers. And these are the pieces, the little flowers that I've used using the designer die cuts that fit perfectly around the designer stamps, rather. And I have stamped those images with 2 different colors. One is a chalk ink from Prima Marketing in Ladybug, which is red-ish. And then the other is a Versacolor chalk ink pad that is in orange. No fancy names, just called orange. And then I'm layering all of these things. I'm layering these stamps. I'm layering just extra pieces of either the journaling card paper, the regular 12 by 12 papers, and this full sheet that you see here that I'm pulling out this little tree. These are the cardstock stickers. Now behind a lot of the stickers, I'm putting some pop dots, like those square, these are from Scrapbook adhesives, little square foam things that help give a lot of dimension. They're kind of fun to do. Now, some other things that was on the previous layout that I want to mention, I was pulling that, you're like, what the heck is she using that cinnamon roll picture for, right? Because I keep pulling it out. I think I pull it out. I might even pull it out a few more times. First of all, the cinnamon rolls are from Pioneer Woman, and they're delicious, and you should make them as often as possible. Don't tell your doctor I told you that. Look that up. Side note. But I'm using that picture because oftentimes I add some adhesive, or not adhesives, pardon me, embellishments, and they kind of go over the edge of where a picture will go, because these white rectangles here are just placeholders, really, and mats for where you put your 4x6 picture. And I don't put adhesive over the part that overlaps the picture. That way, when you go to put some pictures in this album, you go camping, you get this album, boom, you slide the pictures up right on there, and nothing will actually be blocking your picture. Does this make any sense? I hope so. Now, a couple things I want to point out here. The paper that I just used was just a small piece of paper, and I cut it in half, and I did this earlier, right? So this is just another time when I have cut a small piece of paper and put it on the right and again on the left. Now here I'm layering some stickers and some cardstock pieces, and there's the stamped images back there. If you'll recall, I used the designer stamps. Now I'm just cutting out some little canoes from I think that's from the border strips. No, that's the Field of Flowers paper in the background, has some of that. And again, with the pop dots, inking everything. I'll go back through that again, but I ink everything, at least when I do like this album especially, because you're cutting these big pieces of paper down smaller. And when you ink all the edges, it creates a cohesive look, A. And B, it makes you think that that paper was supposed to be that size, because it gives kind of like these edges. It literally gives edges. But it gives a cohesive look, but it also makes you imagine that, for example, that green plaid paper on the right there, that it actually was supposed to be that size to begin with. I don't know. I learned that from Chamel, and I have mentioned it before if you've watched a previous video of mine. Now I'm just doing more layering, utilizing as many of these die cut pieces as I can. This is some brown twine that wow, look at how fast I tied that bow. I don't know about you, if you have issues getting the bow to look right. I don't know. It looks all right now. It looks okay. But I kind of finagle it, play around with it for a little bit. Anyhow, so I'm just looking around. Each page has its own kind of look like this. I've got all these fish, right? I've got the fish fry journaling card on the right. I've got the rainbow trout. It was from the die cut pieces on the left. So I'm just kind of going with this whole theme and using the stickers and the die cut pieces that work. So each layout, I'm just utilizing more of those pieces. That way, again, gets a little cohesive look. Oh, that little girl standing with the light. That blue in this collection is like super my favorite. All right, now we're going back to the front cover, and now hold tight because I'm coming up with another idea here in a minute. I'm thinking, what can I do here on this left? I've got this title. I got Camp Renamuk, which is such a cute little title. And you'll see I'm just going to go through, try to figure out what I'm going to use all of these pieces. How am I going to do it? And what I eventually do, you'll see in a sec. Okay, so I said you were going to see what I'm going to do with the front cover, but besides just doing that little flag, I'm going to use just all these leftover pieces from all the die cuts. And now I'm going to go through and I just decided I'm going to fill this entire thing up with all of these stickers, with all these little signage items from the sticker sheet, the cardstock stickers. And I kind of like it. Sometimes I really like using like all of one thing. It makes me happy. You're just making a whole collection of things. Now I think I'm going to end up just filling it all with these stickers. Am I going to use Camp Renamuk there? Let's see, friends. Let's see what I'm going to do. I'm not sure. Anyway, on the right, I just glued those were die cut flags from the die cut set that filled in. Now I'm going to go back through and add another layer of stuff throughout the album. Just kind of the last finishing touches. I have these all this twine and ribbon, and this stuff is like a wire edge trim, this blue stuff, and it's sparkly. So I was like, ooh, it's kind of like watery. So I just crinkled it up a bit, and I ended up using glue dots to adhere it because, I think that might be the best way to adhere this stuff. And it did. It worked pretty well. So I've already got the twine here, but I have this really cool, look at that stuff. I'm sure it's like polyester or something, but I'm just using the Mono Dots adhesive there. This trim, which looks like leaves. Perfect. I really like it because the leaves are all kind of wonky and stick up everywhere, which gives so much interesting texture and depth. So I'm really liking this. Side note, funny story about me right now, as I have totally fast forward most of this, right? To just save you the minutia of putting the long-windedness of what I'm actually saying when I'm putting this stuff together. But right now, as I'm doing this voiceover, I'm totally using my hands while I'm talking. I just can't stop it. It's like I'm flipping through the book. Anyhow, the last one there was this great red trim that is burlap. It's a burlap ribbon. So great. So now I'm just using, for the very back cover, you hear me clapping because I'm using my hands so much talking. I'm using the extra die cut pieces. Here I am trying to figure out what's going on in this book. What do I want to use? What's left over? What do I like? So I can layer up all these extra pieces. This was probably, I think I said the dark blue paper was my absolute favorite from this collection. It was like a dusk scene. It's similar to where the little 3x4 journaling card of the girl that's up there underneath the Distress ink lid. Anyway, but my second favorite paper is the basket weave. That basket weave paper on the left. And so I'm doing a technique that I do often, which is kind of create an L shape to create a corner where the paper or the picture or whatever is going to fit in. I did this on the 2-page layout as well. Anyhow, so I'm layering, using extra pieces. I'm doing all the same stuff that I've done on every other page here. So anyhow, this is a good chance for me, as you're just watching these little things glue together, is to say, please leave me some comments, or if you have any questions, or if you're like, Stacey, this was too fast, this was too slow, this recording. I'm new at this. I'm trying to learn how to do YouTube videos, but I'm having a good time doing it. So I used, obviously there's the red on the right, which I made kind of a banner with, and I'm going to tie just some extra string because I'm using up the remaining bits of my twine, making banners, more banners, and glue dotting everything on together because when you have that texture, it works best. But on the left, you'll notice that I used the remainder of the blue ribbon to make like a little whitewater area. I just crumpled it up quite a bit. And now I'm going back through and adding some of that great leaf trim and adding it to all the areas that kind of had leaves going on with it, right? So I've got some leaves going on up here by the squirrel, some leaves by the other tree thing. I think it just changes it, makes it look so freaking good. Am I allowed to say freaking? I don't know. Anyhow, so I'm going back through. Oh, I have this bear that I had done also. I added to the front the stamped bear, little bear. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with the cover, right? That's kind of like my last piece that is left. So I'm cutting this, and again, I measured it so that it would be from side to side here perfectly, but also using the ink to make it look or appear like it was meant to be that size. Now here we go. This, I think, is one of my favorite parts of this whole darn thing, is that I used the remaining red piece of, I can't remember, I keep wanting to call it canvas, it's burlap, with these Prima barn stars that I'm showing you the packaging for. Now I adhered everything with a glue dot. I just stuck the ribbon through and held it down with glue dots. I did it on the front and on the back, and so you can tie it together. I'm showing you the size of the glue dots. I think I'm going to actually get a ruler out to measure it so I can tell you what exactly size they are. That way you know. They're the flat ones also. Anyhow, so now you could tie the whole book together. I'm just going to take the chance now to walk you through this Welcome to Camp Runamuck book. So you've got the not canvas, burlap. Why am I having such a problem remembering that? It's burlap. And I'm showing you the front. I'm showing you that cute little stamped and die cut bear that I distressed up again with all kinds of ink because I did it on white cardstock and it was just a little too white looking for me. Anyway, with all the die cuts and stickers that I used on the front, I'm pointing out again how there's space behind where these little tags and things go over the paper. Why we talked about that already, right? I'm pointing out all the fun little things on each of the pages so that you can see everything. The trim that I think really added. I think if the trim weren't here, I'm trying to get it to actually stick to those glue dots now. I think the trim really adds another entire dimension that if this whole book were just paper, it wouldn't have. So I'm really liking it. I liked the different ones. The burlap here on the fishy page. I love that green leafy one. That's so cool. And the blue sparkly with the wire trim on it. There it is. I kind of was talking about it quickly earlier, but I love the way that one looked, like a little water around that canoe. And the brown twine. So those are the 4 trims. They're all quite different. And then you'll see the barn star in the back and how I'm going to, you can tie it together now. All right, so now I'm almost done. However, the spine of the album does not have anything on it. And of course, I want to use this blue favorite paper that I had from the pieces from the collection, but they're not big enough, so I will end up using this, which is the border strips on one side and that cute map on the other. I'm going to cut it to size almost, but it'll be just like this cover with the kind of the edge, and I will ink the edges. That's the only part that I'm not going to show you in this video. So thanks for watching this Welcome to Camp Runamuck journal. Just in review, the steps to building this album are as follows. First, we created base pages. I cut the paper down to the 8 1/8 by 7 7/8 for all the backgrounds. Secondly, went through and created photo mats for each page, each layout. Third, embellishments, okay? And fourth, I made sure to add some dimension with all that different trim. That really changed things, I think, in the album, pardon me. Then we went back to the cover and title pages. So just keep in mind, this is just one way of doing things. And here's the last pictures of this album. Thank you so much for watching. And please comment down below if you have any questions or comments, or even just some additional tips that you do when you are creating your own mini album. I appreciate your time and hope you have a great day.